This narrative, man, we are back again. How's everybody doing? You know, every time when we get a chance to come together to share these messages,
I'm looking at that light.
it's been such a blessing because we've been basically sticking anywhere around 500 to 600 hits, and it's just letting you know that there are people out there that are hungry for the truth. You know, we're getting to the point in these days that even some of the churches are going to start to not revealing the truth. Now, I'm not saying your church or my church. I'm just saying the churches, the gathering where everybody comes in. And I think that the truth needs to come out of there than anywhere else on the planet. And if you can't go to church to get the truth, then where are you going to be able to go? Everyone knows the narrative of the world. Everyone knows the narrative of politicians, the government. They're feeding you what you want to hear. But what is the truth? And I think we're at that point in our life when we really need to start to bring the truth, because we have people right now dying today that have not given their life to Christ, that have not acknowledged Christ as Lord and Savior, that are in eternity hell. There's no chance, no chance. So this is the opportunity now for to be able to reach out and bring that truth. Bob, what we got today?
Well, we're entitling this Fig Leaves, and
I'm telling you, I'm thinking that it's going to be that weather. Let's see if it'll kick back in.
okay,
There you go.
we're back. Okay, it looked like his phone cut out here. We're titling this Fig Leaves and False Narratives for a reason, because Satan is a deceiver.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have to underline, I think, everything we say tonight with, is something that is not evident to most of us,
Right.
which is that this battle is spiritual.
Right. It's spiritual.
God is real.
Yes.
Satan is real.
Yes.
And there are people that serve God. There are also people that have given themselves over to serve
That's
Satan.
right. Yes.
And Satan is a master deceiver and a master liar. And I want to talk about how he does it and how we respond to it.
All right, come on with it.
And I want to talk about fig leaves first.
Okay.
If we go to Genesis chapter 3, we're going to read about the story of the fall of mankind in the Garden of Eden.
Okay.
This is a famous story where the snake deceived Eve.
Yes.
And told her, you know, if you eat this apple, you're not going to die, like God said. You're going to be like God, knowing good from evil. So Eve looked at this apple, which looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
She took a bite, tasted really good, and then it hit her stomach and it poisoned her and the entire human race when sin entered the world. What I want to talk about is the reaction of Adam and Eve once they both disobeyed God and ate that fruit which they were commanded not to eat. If you look at the narrative, the first big thing that happened was they realized they were naked. Yes. And they found leaves to make clothing of to cover their nakedness.
Okay.
This had less to do with nakedness than it did with their shame. Their disobedience to God, their sin, aroused their conscience, and they recognized they did wrong.
Okay.
And shame entered their consciousness. God came after they had these fig leaves, and he replaced them. He replaced their fig leaves with clothing of animal skin. So this was an attempt by Adam and Eve. Really, at the heart of it was to stifle their conscience, which was aroused by their sin. When they recognized, they suddenly became self-conscious and self-aware that they had gone against God.
Okay.
And it expressed itself and being ashamed of their nakedness, so they tried to cover that.
Gotcha.
That shame and that nakedness was just a symptom at this point.
Right. Okay. I'm
And
getting
so
it.
God replaced their fig leaves with animal skins. The implication of that is blood had to be shed
Blood had to be shed.
to cover their shame. What happened here, and this is what I want to talk about, how this applies to us today. What happened here is they were trying to take the sting out of their conscience, which was aroused by their sin. And they felt by covering their nakedness with leaves, they could do that.
They could do that.
Okay. And God said, that's not going to cut
That's
it.
not good enough.
And he said, you're not only cursed, but so is every generation to follow you. And I'll cover your nakedness, which is only a symptom of your sin, but it's got to be covered by the shedding of blood.
Right.
And so that was the story of the fall in the garden. Well, what does that have to do with us? I want to use the example of abortion first.
Okay. Come on with
Okay.
it. Come on with it.
If you're uncomfortable with my talking about killing babies in their mother's womb, this would probably be a good place to tune us off and tune us out. Because I'm talking about this for two reasons. One is because it's so graphically evil, and we've butchered now 60 or 70 million babies. We're way beyond the point now where we were in 1973, where we were sold a bill of goods that this is just a clump of tissue or a clump of cell.
Yeah.
Anybody who's paying attention knows better, and we're killing babies right up until
hold on.
up until delivery and after.
Yeah, because I think what's happening because of the clouds,
Okay.
we're getting bad signal. That's the only way that that's happening like that. I think that because of the clouds, it's giving us a bad signal.
Okay. Well, we're going to wait here for a few minutes. There
go.
we go. We're back. We're getting an interrupted signal on Harrison's phone, I think, due to the storm and the cloud cover here. But I want to bring this up not to beat people over the head who may have been involved in this decision, but actually to bring us to a place of comfort and peace.
Right. Okay.
Because in one way or another, we've all participated in one or another of the things that are destroying our civilization. And I'm only using abortion as an example because it's so graphic.
Right.
But if you make the decision to terminate the life of your baby, our culture gives us a narrative that we can cover ourselves with to hopefully take the sting out of our conscience. Just like Adam and Eve went for those fig leaves to cover their shame, it was really an effort to soothe their conscience. We have a narrative regarding abortion, which says it's my body, it's my choice. These are my reproductive rights. And by the way, if you challenge me and tell me that it's my baby and I've just taken its life, you're being judgmental.
Okay.
That's the narrative.
Right. That's the narrative.
And it's been pounded to us for a generation now. My body, my choice, my reproductive rights, and you don't dare be judgmental. Here's how it works. Okay. If I can buy into that narrative, okay, if I can look at my decision, which is really a matter of my own convenience for the most part, if we consider rape and incest, that's less than 1% of all abortions.
Right.
And if you look at the life of the mother, that's 0%. There's doctors that said we've done thousands of deliveries and never had to make that choice. But if I make that decision to take the life of my baby, the culture is telling me it's okay because you have that right. It's your body, it's your choice, and nobody else has the right to invade your right to make that decision. Okay. This is called reproductive rights. We're not allowed to call it abortion, it's reproductive rights.
Okay.
Now, what happens if I buy that narrative, and if it's spread broadly enough through the entire culture
Okay.
that people are buying into it wholesale and kind of accept it without question
Right.
after a period of time, what I'm doing is getting my culture and the people around me to validate that decision, which then takes some of the sting out of my conscience. Because here's the bottom line. We all have a conscience. And at this point, we know enough about what goes on in the womb and human development,
Right.
where if we let our conscience speak to us,
Right.
we're going to know there's something wrong about this. Okay. But if I can buy that cultural narrative, I can suppress that voice inside of me
Okay.
and validate my decision. Okay. There's two problems with this.
Okay. Come on.
The first problem is with me if I made that decision, because I may be able to suppress my conscience by buying into this narrative.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
But I'm still wounded
You're still wounded.
because I still made that choice. That wound is still inside, even if I can suppress it consciously and move on with my life. I'm still wounded.
Yeah, you're wounded.
And it's going to
It's
come
hard
out
to
in
get
other
rid of.
ways.
Yes.
It's going to come out with anger issues or
Right.
being very judgmental or depression or
Right.
turning to alcohol. And the more decisions we make like this,
Right.
and I'm using abortion only because it's so graphic, but we all make these decisions almost every day and they pile up. And we find these fig leaves, these cultural narratives that we can buy into to take the sting out of our conscience so that we can move on with our life. But the more of these decisions we make that go against God, the more all that baggage is accumulating in there, even though we're suppressing it consciously,
Right. Right.
it's affecting our character, it's affecting our peace, and it's going to work out its way out in alcohol abuse, drug abuse, anger issues, issues with being judgmental.
Right. Right.
And that's how Satan operates. He'll build this narrative and then he'll step back. And here's the issue. The first issue is taking the sting out of your conscience
Okay.
doesn't heal the wound
Right.
and the damage you've done to yourself. And the more of these decisions and the more things we get involved in that are sinful, the more this stuff piles up and it's going to express itself. So what happens to us is one thing. The other thing is Satan's fairly smart. Okay.
Right.
He knows that if you're in a dark room with cockroaches, as soon as you turn the light on, those cockroaches disappear.
Right. Right.
The antidote to this false narrative is truth.
Yes.
So Satan's sitting back now, watching his narrative spread,
Right.
because he's behind this narrative.
He's behind it. Yes, he is.
And he's watching it spread through the entire culture and waiting for the counter narrative.
And isn't that the same format with family? Now they consider two men getting married with a child. That's considered a family. That's the same concept, ain't it?
We're going right into that.
Isn't that almost the same concept?
I'm only using abortion.
Right. Right. I know just what you're
Not,
saying.
not to judge anyone.
Right. No, we're not here to
But to say
judge.
we need to deal with this.
Right.
You know, if you want to continue to suppress this stuff by buying these cultural narratives to put on fig leaves, that's not going to fix you and it's not going to fix our civilization.
Right.
And as soon as the counter narrative, which is truth,
Right.
is brought forward into the light to counter this false narrative,
Right.
what happens is if we persist in telling the truth, sooner or later, Satan's game is exposed and it collapses, and we put a stop to this. The problem is that counter narrative of truth never comes
It never comes.
because we're the voice of those babies.
That's right. Yes.
Their screams are silent as they're being dismembered. God is relying on us. Nobody's going to want to hear this, but God is relying on us, people of conscience, people of the church, to stand up for life in the room. And say,
Amen.
this is
Praise
wrong.
God.
And read Psalm 139. If you don't believe me, you can take it up with God. He said, you formed me in my womb. You saw my unknown parts. You had a plan for my life before there was ever one day.
Yes, yes, that's in there.
That's the truth. So when you get this false narrative, my body, my choice, reproductive rights, you have no right to judge me, blah, blah, blah. The counter narrative is, first of all, it's no longer your body,
Right.
creating a new life. And secondly, the truth is, this is a child of God, and we're going to say so.
Amen.
And as we say so, the truth will prevail over Satan's lies if we persist in it.
Amen.
Darkness cannot stand against light.
Against light.
And this is Satan's strategy throughout the destruction of our
Amen.
civilization. If you've been involved in this decision regarding an abortion, believe it or not, I'm not judging you. I'm inviting you to take a hard look at what's going on
Right.
here. Chances are you bought into this narrative,
Okay.
my body, my choice, and I have these reproductive rights and you can't tell me what to do. But the fact is, the chances are you're still wounded. And the only way to deal with that wound and all the other wounds from all the decisions we all make that pile up in there is to stand in front of a mirror and tell ourselves the truth. That means we got to strip off the fig leaves.
Yes, yes.
Stand naked in front of a mirror and say, I don't look very good.
Right. And just keep it. Yeah.
And
I definitely understand what you're saying.
Bring it out on the table, confess it, seek forgiveness from God, and then be healed from this. And then possibly turn around and be a comfort to others.
You know what? You made a real good point. And what you did, Bob, was you made me think about Cain and Abel.
Mm-hmm.
You made me think about Cain and Abel because everybody knew that Cain had killed Abel, but God confronted Cain.
Mm-hmm.
And what did he say to him? He said, your brother's blood is crying out.
It's crying out.
Isn't that what he said? What is the difference between a woman having an abortion and doing the same thing? Is that not the same thing?
Well, and
in some format.
And I think what you just said, where God said his blood is crying out.
Yes.
I think his blood is crying out internally in all of us. And this isn't about
Yes.
abortion. It's
Yes.
not. It's about Satan's scheme.
Yes.
Building all these fig leaf
Yes.
coverings,
Yes.
fake narratives
Yes.
that we can adopt to try and take the sting out of our conscience. But inside, these decisions are still crying out and destroying us and destroying our civilization. I am not judging you
No.
if you've been involved in these decisions.
God forgives all sin.
I
But
have
you gotta reach
compassion
out.
for whoever is involved in
Yes,
these
amen,
decisions,
yes.
and for anybody that's affected by it. But what I'm pleading with us all is to recognize the lie behind this,
Yes.
that is Satan giving you a fig leaf to take the sting out of your conscience so you can try and move on with your life as if nothing's wrong.
Nothing's wrong.
But that blood is still crying out. And it's not just abortion. With this whole homosexual nonsense, the narrative is I was born that way.
Yeah.
I have every right to live out my own identity, and you can't judge me. And what happens is Satan builds that narrative, spreads it through the culture,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
and waits for the counter narrative,
Yep.
which is biblical,
Okay.
where God says, I created you as man and woman.
That's right.
Sex is designed for man and woman.
Yep.
Within the context of marriage. And we can support that all the way through the Bible, by
Right.
the
Right.
way. That's the truth. Okay, that's the counter
That's the
narrative
truth.
to Satan's narrative that says I was born that way, and I have every right to express my identity.
Mm.
Okay, including getting married, and it builds. It starts with I can be gay and you can't judge me. Then, well, I can get married and you can't judge that.
me.
And I have a civil right. And now I can come to your church, and now I can preach from your pulpit. And this is all going on within the church.
Yes. Yes.
And I got to think Satan's standing back and saying,
Yes.
as soon as this counter narrative comes up, my game's over. And it never does,
It never
because our
does.
churches are dead silent. And so now we've got homosexual and lesbian pastors preaching
Yep.
and marrying man to man and woman to woman in some of our so-called Christian churches. That's because we have a false narrative which says, I was born that way. I have every right to live out my identity.
Right.
Okay. And nobody's going to counter that with the truth. As soon as we counter it with the truth and actually stand for the truth and refuse to back down, the game is up.
That's right.
Okay.
Then it ends.
Okay. So then it comes to now, so Satan got away with that. And now we're into the world of transgenders.
Mm-hmm.
And this doesn't just start with a guy deciding he wants to act like a woman or cross-dressing, or a woman shaving or cutting her hair and trying to act masculine.
Right.
It's going to progress and progress and progress, and there's no bottom to it. Now they're bringing it into our schools and insisting on programming our young children before they even have a sense of who they are, 8, 9, 10-year-olds, that they get to make a choice. And they're going to try and convince them to mutilate themselves.
And then in reality, as the years go on, there's a transition that comes in within the mind. When you get to a certain extent, then you start to regret it.
Well, yeah, and it's too late. And here's the thing: if we don't even protect our children, what are we?
Yeah, you're right.
The false narrative now is, well, I wasn't, I can change my sexual identity. Okay, if I don't feel like a man and feel more like a woman, I can just change my sex. And you got all this floating through society now, and that'll be coming into the church very soon, and we're going to have to decide how to deal with that. But the other problem is they're sending it down into our school system now and trying to propagandize our very young children that you don't have to accept the way you were born.
And it doesn't matter if your parents agree or not.
And it doesn't matter, because we're not going to tell your parents, by the way.
Right.
This is what's happening. What happened to protecting children?
Yes.
We don't protect them in the womb. We don't protect them in the household. We don't protect them in the schools. And this is Satan's narrative. Well, I have a right to choose my identity. I do. I have a right to choose who I want to be. If I want to be a woman, if I want to change my name, if I want to do this or do that. And that way, if I do, and I get the whole culture to endorse that,
right,
that validates my decision. It takes the sting out of this sense of shame that I have. Okay. When what we should be doing is taking a stand and saying, no,
I agree.
That's not the way God designed
you.
And if we stand up boldly for the truth, all these fake fig leaf narratives eventually are going to collapse.
Yes.
And once they collapse, we can treat our wounded.
Yes.
We can treat the people that are suffering in these ways, and I'm not trying to judge somebody. Look at it this way. How broken do you have to be to say, I can't stand myself enough that I'm going to mutilate myself and try and
there you go. Woman. You're right. Yes.
How broken are you?
You have to be broken.
We were doing jail ministry to kids, and I still remember the girl that was cutting herself, and this was a real common problem. And I said, why do you cut yourself? Ecstasy. How broken do you have to be to draw your own blood to escape the pain of your life?
Yeah.
We cannot treat these people and treat the wounded, not just within the church, but within our culture and civilization, without bringing truth to bear. We can't do it. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse. I'm not picking on people that have made a decision regarding an abortion. I'm not. I'm inviting you. Let's deal with this honestly and understand. And I've made thousands of decisions, probably, or more, that are sin.
Right.
And when that's not dealt with, I might be able to find a little story to tell myself to ease my conscience. But those wounds, all that baggage is still building up there, and it's expressing itself through alcoholism, through anger,
Yes.
through depression, through whatever it is. And the only way we're going to fix ourselves internally, let alone fix our civilization, is to be honest. And the honest is there's truth, and truth is a counter narrative to every one of these satanic lies.
Yes, it's all this demonic. It's demonic.
And here's the
It's a
problem:
spiritual battle.
the pulpits of America are dead.
It won't say nothing.
How in the world did we manage to kill 60 or 70 million babies in their womb? And now it's not just the early stages where you can try and soothe your conscience by saying it was a clump of tissues or this and that. We're going up to full term. And we've got politicians that want to give you the right to bring your baby back 30 days after it's born, as if this is like a trial period. I'll kill it for you. And we have a church that won't take a stand on it. If your church leader won't take a clear stand on matters of right and wrong and say, this is right, this is wrong, this is what the Bible says, or if they take the position that, well, privately we know what right and wrong is, but we can't say that publicly because people get offended. If that's your pastor, there's a definition for somebody who does one thing in public and something else in private. That's a classic definition of a hypocrite.
Mhm.
It is.
Yes.
He's two-faced.
Mhm.
And if they don't have the decency and the moral courage to stand up, and I'm not talking about abortion, I'm talking about right and wrong across the board.
Right around across the
We
board.
look to our church leadership to be a moral compass,
Right.
to give us some guidance on right and wrong with the things we're struggling with. And if they can't stand up and say, this is right, this is wrong, and this is what the Bible says,
Yeah.
I frankly would not follow that church leader.
Yeah. What does God say about the matter?
How in the world can we permit our civilization to collapse to the extent it has with all this killing field? We've turned the mother's womb into a killing field. Now we've got, homosexuals parading their perversions into our schools, and we've got,
Manipulating the kids.
people trying to mutilate our children, and still we don't stand up. What is it going to take to get us men off our bar stools and to show up at a school board meeting? And what in the world is it going to take to get your pastor or priest or elder or church leader to stand up and take a clear moral stand and say, this is wrong, and this is where it says so in the Bible? But here's how we can move in and help if you're willing to embrace the truth.
Amen.